You know, it's a question we all ask ourselves, right? What's next? I mean, it could be about what you're having for lunch, or it could be about the next 10 years of your life. It's really the big question that drives everything.
And look, when we think what's next, our minds usually jump to flying cars, right? All those sci-fi gadgets. But today, we're going to go a little deeper. We're asking what's next for something way more complex than any machine, us, the human conscience. And those really big choices that, well, they make us who we are. All right, so to get into this, let's take a look at how some really brilliant people have tried to predict the future. Some of them, man, they nailed it. Others, well, they had these amazing visions, but maybe they missed just how complicated and, human we all are.
And that's the tricky part, isn't it? I mean, scientists can predict what an atom's going to do with pretty amazing accuracy. But predicting what a person's going to do, that's a whole different ballgame. So you get these two kinds of predictions. The ones based on cold, hard science, and then these huge, visionary ideas about where humanity is headed.
So check out this contrast. It's pretty fascinating. First, you've got Dmitry Mendeleev. This guy, using just the logic of his periodic table, literally predicted elements that nobody had even discovered yet. And guess what? He was right, over and over. Then you have Nikola Tesla. I mean, wow, he dreamed up a global brain, pocket-sized wireless gadgets, even driverless cars. Absolutely incredible foresight. But, and this is a big but, he also thought technology would be the cure-all for humanity's worst problems, like war or destroying the environment. See, he got the what so right, but he kind of missed the mark on the who. Us, the messy, unpredictable humans who would end up using all that tech. Which actually brings us to this perfect quote from the poet T.S. Eliot. It's the ideal way to shift from talking about predicting things to trying to understand people. You could say Tesla had the experience. I mean, the guy was a genius, but he missed the meaning of how we humans would actually use all that power. And that right there, that's the real mystery when we ask, what's next? So this leads us straight into one of the toughest spots any of us can be in. That feeling, that really intense internal battle when what you believe in your heart just completely crashes against what the world, what society is telling you to do.
And in those moments, you have to make a choice. It can feel like you're standing all by yourself against, well, against everyone. There's no easy way out, and you know deep down that the stakes are incredibly high.
So yeah, there's a name for this, a crisis of conscience. It's that fork in the road where you have to decide, do I follow the rules, do I do what's expected of me, or do I listen to that voice inside, even if it means breaking every rule in the book? To really get a feel for this, let's turn to one of the greatest examples you'll find anywhere in literature.
Yeah, we're talking about Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain's classic. At the end of the day, he's just a kid on a raft, but man, the choice he has to make is one that has stuck with people for over 100 years.
And here's the choice laid bare. The world he grew up in, his entire society, taught him that helping his friend Jim, who was an escaped slave, was not just wrong, it was a sin, a one-way ticket to hell. So the choice was simple, but impossible. Do right according to everyone else, or do right by the one person who trusted him.
Okay, so let's walk through what's going on in his head. First, there's what he's been taught his whole life, the societal belief that Jim is property, plain and simple. But then there's the personal connection. Out there on that raft, away from everybody, the rules of the world start to melt away. He just sees Jim, a person, a friend, and that's where the conflict really explodes. He even gets so far as to write a letter to turn Jim in. He's trying to be good, right? But he just can't do it. And in that incredible, pivotal moment, he makes his choice. He rips that letter to shreds and basically says, all right then, I'll go to hell. Just wow. Now, here's a really important point, and it's easy to miss. Huck's choice, it wasn't some big, grand political stand against slavery. He didn't have this sudden realization that the whole system was evil. No, his choice was much smaller and much more personal. He was saving his friend. That's it. He was following his heart, not some new philosophy. So Huck might be a character in a book, but that crisis of conscience? Oh, that is very, very real. It's been one of the biggest drivers of change in all of human history. So let's shift from fiction to fact and look at some real people who put it all on the line for what they knew was right.
History is just full of people who had their own Huck Finn moment. Think about Oscar Schindler. He stopped seeing numbers and started seeing people. Or Martin Luther King Jr., who heard a call for justice that was way louder than any segregation law. Nelson Mandela. He imagined a unified nation while sitting in a prison cell, rejecting the entire system of apartheid. And Mother Teresa, who looked at the world's indifference and chose to see the profound dignity in every single person. Every single one of them was up against this massive societal pressure, and every one of them chose to listen to that inner voice. And when we talk about the real world, the stakes are just massive. I mean, look at this. On one side, you have Oscar Schindler's grave. It's covered in stones, left by the children and grandchildren of the people he saved. It's such a powerful symbol of the good that one person's choice can create. But on the other side, you see a reminder of the incredible suffering these conflicts cause. It just shows you. The decision to act or to stand by and do nothing, it changes the world. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Following your conscience, it's not free. It comes with a cost. For these people, the idea of betraying what they knew to be right was a price far, far higher than anything society could do to them. They understood the cost, and they chose to pay it anyway. Okay, so what about us? This isn't just a history lesson, right? This whole idea brings us right back to our own lives and to those huge questions that really define our own personal what's next. So here's the first big question for you. Our conscience, that little voice inside, is it tied to how much we value life? I mean, our own life and the lives of others? And if so, where does that feeling even come from? And let's push that a bit further. How much of our conscience comes from believing in something bigger? A higher power, a spiritual path, maybe just a sense of universal justice. Does believing in something beyond our physical lives, does that change the math when we're facing one of those impossible choices? And this is where it all circles back to the future. You see, our collective beliefs are always changing. Some people are becoming more secular, others more deeply religious. How is that going to change the moral landscape? What are the big crises of conscience that our kids or their kids are going to face? And what tools will they even have to figure it all out? And let's end on this one last question. It's a real thinker. When Sir Edmund Hillary was asked why he climbed Mount Everest, his famous answer was because it's there. But as we stand here today, looking at the future of things like genetic engineering or true artificial intelligence, as we look at technologies that could change what it even means to be human, we have to ask a different question. Just because a mountain is there, does that mean we should climb it? Are there some lines we shouldn't cross? Ultimately, what comes next? Well, that's on us. The question is, what are we going to choose?